Good morning, it's Barbara. It's warm outside, but it's sunny and we'll find out how nice. Good morning, it's Barbara. Lots of chittering and chattering today. I have the worst memory, but one of you lovely people sent me a message on Instagram that listening to birds is really good for our bodies, lowers our cortisol or whatever, does all this stuff to us, because for the last 100,000 years, the sounds of birds mean we're safe. There's no danger around because the birds shut up when there's danger. And I think the birds have the same dangers as we do, or maybe they recognize our dangers. I don't know. But anyway, our body responds to that because, we are evolutionary creatures. Anyway, what a lovely thing to send me, and I'm so sorry. I see those and I reply, and and then out of the brain. But anyway, it was a wonderful thing to read this morning. It made me smile, and I forgot I was going to read it to Dennis, and he left. But I'm out here on my deck, not in danger. I got my clear with the gold in it again. Let's see. The reason I did was because it feels good on my lips. It feels like lip gloss. It doesn't have a big effect on the color, although it has supposedly some effect. You tell me. But it feels good. And I find it interesting. There is nothing. If I didn't remember what this was, I can't tell you because I didn't remember what it was. So it's just this. Something I found on Instagram. It's getting a little color on it. Yeah, good. Anyway, good morning. It's Barbara. Thank you for joining me for coffee. Me and my birds. Me in my safe place on my deck. A little more breeze out here on the deck and this would be kind of perfect. I mean, I don't mind being warm, I can tell you that. I did not knit yesterday, but I did want to show you my sweater because I didn't show it to you yesterday, but I've started the left front. And this is the row that I was talking about that's turned out to be a self-striping yarn that I got from Danielle, who's on a cruise going somewhere. I'm trying to find out where. Kind of orangey color, which is what I was looking for. But you can see at the top, it's starting to go red. Well, what was left after this short set of rows was red, dark red, brownie red, whatever. And I've got another side that I've got to do that's going to match right up next to that. And then I was worried because it was going to be red. And Patty said, I don't know if I'd use Danielle's things because that would drive her crazy. So I started to think about it and I thought I'm going to be disappointed if that one stripe is the only one that doesn't match in the whole, doesn't look like it matches in the whole sweater. You can see, I don't know if you can see. I could put my glasses on and maybe I could tell if you could see. But the next stripe is sort of a variable color, but it's not so obviously, it's the self-striping that I think would be the problem. So anyway, I took the little ball of yarn that I got from Danielle and thinking, oh, this is the self-striping yarn. So let me see if I can find the stripe. Yay! And in the very, very tiny middle of it was... So I re-round it so that my next thing I do is the yellowy orange, which is what I was going for. And so I will be good for the other front. And if and I can use that for the back, and it'll be red, and I won't care because the sleeves will be between it and the front. I talked about that the other day, that, you know, the back doesn't have to match, so I can use the same little ball of yarn, even though it'll be a different color. So I solved that problem. There you go. But I didn't knit last night. I just vegged without anything in my hands. I did make crackers. I'm getting a little tired of, you know, making crackers every 3 days, but we really like those crackers. And I was making, for a while I was making a double batch, but I was having trouble getting a double batch to really fit well in my oven, and so I was, you know, I was making them too close together, and then they were like square, because I was cutting them because they all ran together. So I went back to a batch and a half because it was really easy to, you know, it was 2 of everything, so it was really easy to make a batch and a half. I just do 3 of everything, and it worked out fine. My glasses were dirty. Except that I have to keep making crackers all the time. I'm too lazy for that. So I figured out how to do a whole double batch yesterday. I just used both my ovens. I have a small oven, and I have a big oven that has 3 racks, and then I have a small oven that has 1 rack. And so I was able to, I had 2 more pans that I could bring in and use on that small oven, and so I did. So we'll see if these last longer. But that's what I did yesterday. Oh, and I went to my physical therapy. I caused a bit of a ruckus. Not a big ruckus. It wasn't really a ruckus. But I was sitting there. I had to fill out all the paperwork and everything. I was sitting there, and I noticed one woman who obviously worked there was wearing a mask. And I was wearing a mask, but nobody else was wearing a mask in the whole place. And it's one big giant room with just different stations all around. So the receptionist walked by, so I asked her, you know, I'm supposed to be with Brian today, but I wonder if it would be possible to, well, first I asked what her name was, and it was Allison. I said, would I be able to switch to Allison? Because, you know, I prefer that, you know, because she's wearing a mask. And she said, well, we usually don't do that. Let me check. A little while, and she went to talk to somebody, and then, you know, a little while later, I see her carrying a surgeon's mask and handing it to a young man. And she walked past me. I said, is that Brian? She said yes, and smiled, and I said, okay. So Brian wore a mask for me, a surgeon's mask, wore it very poorly. But he was very nice, and I really thought he was helpful. And in fact, my knee felt a lot better yesterday afterwards, which surprised me that, you know, I could tell any change so quickly. But I told him as I was leaving, I said, you know, our next session, I'm going to bring you a better mask. And he just smiled. And I said, I actually have one with me if you want it. And he said, no, bring it with you on Friday. Because he's not going to wear it, except for me. Okay, well, I'll bring it. I told him I put a baggie in my purse with his name on it with a mask, and he could wear the same mask every time. Unless he wants to keep it and use it, you know, and keep himself safe. But anyway. But I had a very nice session, and he sent me home with exercises, which I haven't done yet today, but I do intend to do. But first, I'm going to go out and about a little bit. And I'm going to go buy myself a yoga mat, because 3 of the exercises will be better on a yoga mat, I think, than on my bed or on the hard floor. So I'm going to buy myself a yoga mat, because, you know, everybody should have a yoga mat, right? Just in case go back to the idea of doing, yoga. Oh, I completely forgot about my chair yoga. They're going to charge me again. I haven't done my chair yoga in a long time. Interesting, that just went out of my head. Now I'm just reminding myself, wait a minute. Isn't that funny? Well, I'm going to do my exercises for Brian. So I'm going to go buy myself a yoga mat. Then I am going to the state store and buy myself a shit ton of gin. And then I am going to Highland Orchards and get a flat of strawberries. So, and I'm going to look at their rhubarb. So I'm going to do some infusions with strawberries and rhubarb in gin. And I'm also going to haul a bunch of strawberries for Dennis, and he's going to make some kind of like strawberry preserves. It's just boiled, cooked strawberries that he does end up sweetening. I think he'll probably wait till they cool a little bit and sweeten them with Equal. Because we prefer to use Equal to Splenda, but you can't cook Equal. And I don't think he wants to use allulose. I would be surprised. But I'll let you know what he does tomorrow. We shall see. But meanwhile, so I'm going to be out and about a little bit before I do my exercises so I can try it out on my mat. I guess I'm going to have to work in my room a little bit because I still have a deflated blow-up bed on the floor of my craft room, and that's where I'm going to be doing my exercises because I got to be out of the way of the dogs. I could do them in the bedroom. So anyway, that's my plan for today. Out and about for a while and then hulling strawberries forever. But it'll be nice to have strawberries. Fresh, picked, local, delicious strawberries. You eat them while they're here. They are sweet. But delicious. But mostly they're for infusing, and so I will get at least a flat of strawberries, and then I'll get some rhubarb if they have it. They should. They had it last year. So yeah, that's my plans for today. Kim is going to visit Aura, so she will have her visit, and it's Thursday, so they'll go to happy hour. So it's a fun visit for them. And yeah, tomorrow I'll have my physical therapy again. I'm going to do my exercises today. I said, how often do I have to do this? He looked at me, he said, every day. I'm like, okay. At least he didn't say 3 times a day. Could have said that. So anyway. So that's what's happening with me. I'm, having some of the old feels these days. And, and it's just something that I'm going to have to manage because, you feel your feels. There's nothing to do about that except honor the feelings and give yourself grace, which is what I'm trying to do. And I'm going to exercise. That won't hurt. So that's my plan. That's my plan for the day. Exercise and strawberries. Sounds like perfect mental health day, right? And I figured out what I'm going to do with my orangey apricot-y stripe for my other side of my front, and I solved that, so now I'm not worried about that. I do have to get a plastic bag, but because I'm just accumulating those colors on my side table. And they need to be in a bag to do my other side and the back if it works. So that's my plan. Nothing special, just keeping on, trying to enjoy the bird songs. I almost wish I hadn't done my gizmo first, and I could have done my Merlin out here, and then I could tell you what I'm listening to. But some of you put your Merlin on while I'm talking, and then tell me what you heard on my vlog. I love that. I gotta go. I got stuff to do today. I got strawberries to eat. Please take good care of yourselves. Please, please, please stay safe and stay safe.